You wake in the dark because the baby against your chest has gone quiet. For one frightening second, you listen. Then a warm breath touches your skin and a tiny hand closes around your hair. Outside the shelter, the wind is cold enough to harden the ground. Inside, there is no crib, no thermostat, and no emergency room if the child becomes dangerously cold. So how do you keep that baby alive until sunrise? For most of human history, the answer began with something simpler than technology. It began with another human body. A newborn loses heat much faster than an adult because a small body has more exposed surface compared with its size. The infant also cannot rely on strong shivering. Physiologist Melly Lydell showed why brown adipose tissue, usually called brown fat, matters in early life. It burns stored energy to produce heat without shivering. But brown fat is not enough when cold air keeps pulling warmth away. What happens then?
Your ancestors reduced heat loss first. The baby stayed pressed against warm skin, tucked close to a chest or side, and covered together with whatever wrapping was available. Modern research on skin-to-skin care helps explain why this works. Direct contact reduces exposure to cold air and lets heat move from the warmer adult toward the cooler child. Breastfeeding adds fuel as well as comfort, because milk supplies the energy a growing body needs. Warmth, food, and calming contact arrive through the same embrace. Could the oldest baby warmer have been a person? No archaeologist can excavate a vanished bedtime routine. Soft materials rarely survive for tens of thousands of years. Instead, the picture comes from preserved bedding, hearths, sewing tools, shelters, human biology, and recent hunter-gatherer communities. No single clue gives the whole answer. Together, they reveal a system. Start with the ground. Cold soil can drain body heat even when the air feels tolerable. At Border Cave in South Africa, archaeologist Lynn Wadley and her colleagues found traces of grass bedding dating to roughly 200,000 years ago. The grasses had been laid in living areas, sometimes over ash from earlier fires. Ash can create a cleaner surface, while a thick plant layer traps still air and separates skin from cold earth. Some bedding was deliberately burned, probably to clean the camp. The sleeping place was not simply a patch of dirt, it was built. Now picture that bedding as a shared platform. Dry grass lies beneath hides or plant material. An adult curls around the infant. Another sleeper blocks the draft from the shelter entrance. Older children press close enough to share heat, while the smallest baby stays where a caregiver can feel breathing and movement. This exact arrangement cannot be proven from one site, but it fits human biology and the evidence for close infant care. Would a family waste body heat by spreading everyone apart? The fire mattered, but not in the way a movie shows it. A huge blaze beside a sleeping infant would create smoke, sparks, burns, and sudden temperature changes. A controlled hearth was more useful. At Ohalo II beside the Sea of Galilee, archaeologist Danny Nadell and his team reconstructed a brush hut about 23,000 years old with a hearth, work areas, and a sleeping zone near the walls. The hut shows that ancient living space could be organized carefully. A modest fire warmed nearby air and objects, while the shelter slowed the wind carrying that warmth away. The safest baby was not beside the brightest flame. The safest baby was protected by distance, barriers, and watchful adults. Smoke created another problem. A shelter that trapped every bit of heat could also trap choking air. Your ancestors needed enough cover to stop the wind, enough ventilation for smoke to escape, and enough fuel to keep embers alive. Someone had to notice when the fire faded. Someone had to add wood. Someone had to move the child if smoke shifted across the sleeping area. Was nighttime really a period when every adult became unconscious at once? Ethnography suggests otherwise. Ethnography means the close study of living communities, and it cannot turn a recent hunter-gatherer group into a perfect copy of Ice Age people. But it can show how childcare works in small, mobile communities without modern heating. Anthropologist Barry Hewlett's work among Central African foragers found that infants were held extremely often and by many people, not only mothers. Fathers, siblings, grandparents, and other camp members contributed. That constant handling was not only affection, it was transport, protection, feeding access, and warmth. This changes the scene. You are not one exhausted parent guarding a baby alone through an endless night. You are part of a camp where the child passes between familiar bodies during the day
and remains inside a human circle after dark. One person feeds the infant, another repairs bedding, another gathers fuel, another takes the child while the mother eats or sleeps. The baby's heating system is partly social. What looks primitive is actually distributed childcare. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner's research on firelight conversation among the Jew/Hoansi adds another clue. After dark, the fire becomes a center for stories, memories, jokes, and social repair. People remain awake in conversation, which means a fussing infant is surrounded by ears. A cough, a change in breathing, or a fire burning too low is more likely to be noticed in a group than in isolation. The flames warm the camp. Attention protects it. Which matters more when the baby cannot explain what is wrong? Then come the coverings. Before woven blankets, your ancestors had hides, fur, bark fiber, grasses, and eventually fitted clothing. Most of those materials decay, so the record is incomplete. Bone awls show that people pierced tough materials, and eyed needles show that some groups made garments with seams. A needle fragment from Mezmaiskaya Cave in the Caucasus dates to roughly 40,000 to 36,000 years ago. Fitted clothing matters because loose hides let warm air escape, while sewn layers close more tightly around the body. For a baby, a small wrap also keeps arms and legs covered when an adult moves. But wrapping created danger as well as safety. A wet covering steals heat. A wrap blocking the face threatens breathing. A baby too close to the hearth can overheat or catch a spark. Ancient parents did not possess perfect knowledge, and many infants died despite intense care. Survival was never guaranteed. The methods that endured were those families could observe working night after night. Is the skin warm? Is the breathing steady? Has the wrap become damp? Does the child need milk? Now reconstruct one full night. The sun disappears and the temperature drops. You gather dry grass bedding inside a windbreak of branches, hides, or stone. The fire is reduced to a manageable bed of flame and ember. The baby feeds, then settles against a caregiver's chest beneath a shared hide. A second adult lies on the windward side. Someone near the hearth wakes when the orange glow fades and adds wood. The child stirs. A hand clears the covering and pulls the small body close again. The air becomes colder before dawn. The fire no longer heats the entire shelter evenly, but it was never the only defense. Dry bedding slows heat loss into the ground. Layers trap warm air. The shelter cuts the wind. Food supports the infant's own heat production. Most important, warm bodies remain close and responsive. The system has no single point of protection. Why rely on one fragile solution when several can work together? Here is the counterintuitive twist. Fire was not the main invention that kept ancient babies warm. Neither was fur. The decisive adaptation was cooperation. A lone adult can carry fuel, watch the flames, breastfeed, repair bedding, sleep, and respond to danger only for so long. A group can spread those tasks across many hands and many hours. Human babies are unusually dependent for unusually long periods, and that weakness may have pushed communities toward deeper cooperation. The infant did not merely survive because the tribe existed. The demands of helpless infants helped make the tribe necessary. That ancient arrangement casts a strange light on modern nights. You may have central heating, a monitor, manufactured blankets, and medical advice, yet still feel that nighttime care belongs to one or two exhausted people behind a closed door. Your technology is warmer. Your social circle may be thinner. Ancient parents faced more cold, smoke, injury, and far fewer ways to rescue a sick child. But many faced the darkness with nearby helpers, shared fires, and constant physical contact. Has comfort replaced some of the cooperation that once made comfort possible? Ancient humans kept babies warm with skin, milk, dry bedding, windbreaks, controlled hearths, fitted coverings, close observation, and many caregivers. Each layer compensated when another weakened. The fire could fade, the hide could slip, the night could turn colder than expected, but another body could pull the infant closer. You wake in the dark because the baby against your chest has gone quiet. This time, you do not hear emptiness. You hear soft breathing, made possible by grass beneath you, embers beside you, hides around you, and an entire human circle holding back the cold.